Hi, my name is Sharon Dickens and I'm the Director of Women's Ministries for 20 Schemes. I've been asked to make a video about the First Step series and why I wrote the books, which books I wrote and who they're intended for. So I wrote 2 books. First one that I wrote was Character, and pretty much is about what it's about. And the second one I wrote was about relationship, which isn't quite what anybody really expected. So the first one, Character, I'd like to say that I wrote it myself, but I had a lot of help from Andy Prime, who wrote voices, and my pastor, Andy Constable, because it was a difficult subject to work out. But it's really looking at our biblical character, and as we're Christians now, how that should be reflected in our lives. The reason that I wrote it is because a lot of time when it comes to discipleship, we teach new Christians morality and not what it is to be an actual grown-up Christian. So it's following through the fruit of the Spirit, looking at how these should be reflected in our life. So really what you should expect from it is a pretty standard walk through what each of these elements really means, because we all think we know what something means, but like love, we all have an idea of what that is, but what does it really mean from a Bible perspective and how that should look in our lives now that we're Christians. The second book that I wrote was Relationships. Now this was probably the hardest book that I wrote because it didn't start out like I intended. I thought it was going to be about relationships in the sense of how parents got on, or being single or married, and there is elements of that, but it's kind of like a tag on at the end. It's not meant to be a tag on, but it became really clear as I started to write it, that the relationships book was about how our relationships in life with God, ourselves, with the people around us, and in the world is broken because of sin. And again, just as with character, how that impacts our lives when we're being discipled. And I do get to the obvious stuff at the end, which is what everybody expects it to be about, being single, married, and how you deal with it. But it's not primarily the focus of the book. The focus is about our focus of the book is about our relationship with God, our relationship with the people around us, and the relationship with ourselves and the world, and how now as a new Christian we should be reflecting Christ in all of those. Who is it expected for? Who did I write it for? And primarily, to be honest, I wrote it for every new Christian that I've come across. So it is aimed at new Christians in a scheme context. So people who have no preconceived knowledge of God or Bible stories that we assume that everybody has. So starting from scratch. But the truth is, when it comes to discipleship, it's for any new believer who wants to grow up and be a grown-up Christian.